wonderful meeting you on the 8th Avenue bus in beautiful Midtown Manhattan.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad we were able to put it together. And Steve, welcome very much.
Thanks.
And welcome to you in the audience. And we're pleased to welcome to the audience to the program today two people that are involved with an entity called Touch Graphics Inc. And we have on my far left we have Steve Landau. He's the president of the organization. And Stephen, welcome very much to Conversation.
Thanks so much.
And to my immediate left is my friend from the 8th Avenue bus. We had a great conversation on the bus coming up 8th Avenue one day. It led to this program. That's Ellen Rubin. And Ellen, welcome very much. She's a project demonstrator, I guess, from the Touch Graphics, right?
Right. Well, Test coordinator.
Test coordinator. And Ellen, welcome very, very much. It's so good to see you looking so good again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. And these are the guests. And what we're dealing with here is a company that's put out technology. Ellen, quite obviously perhaps to you, is that she's not sighted, she's blind. And we have a system of communication that's developing by the company that is catering to the needs, special needs of the blind population. It has implications in terms of technological developments, and we're going to be talking about that and demonstrating the system that they're putting together. And welcome very, very much once again. I wonder, Steve, maybe let's start with Ellen. Ellen, maybe you could share a little of your own background, just a brief thing, where you're born and raised a little bit, and then we'll do the same with Stephen, and then we'll talk some about this technology. But you're a New Yorker, I guess, right?
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, but when I was fairly young, my parents moved to New Jersey and then to Maryland, but I always came back to New York.
Like the sparrows returning to Capistrano.
Exactly, exactly. Or like a bad penny turning up.
Well, let's keep it a sparrow. Huh?
All right.
All right.
But my background is special education, and I have worked with a variety of populations, not only people who are blind, but obviously since I am blind myself, it is of great interest to me to provide information and technology and whatever we can to enhance the situation for people who are blind, both kids and adults.
Yeah. Could I ask you, Ellen, were you blind from birth, or did it happen after you were born?
No, I became totally blind by the time I was 17.
Yeah, that's a... I don't mean to go into pry or anything. It must have been a pretty traumatic event. Was it a cataclysmic thing that caused that?
No, it was a gradual deterioration of my vision.
I see. I see. That's interesting. Is that you're probably pretty well aware of people, or more than us, that are normally sighted and so forth. But is that a characteristic of the way in which blindness besets members of our society?
Not really.
No.
I have a particular eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa. Many people have it with varying degrees of vision loss. But there are many, many other reasons for blindness, for anything from accident to other kinds of congenital disorders.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
And okay, well, welcome to the set. It's so good to see you again, darling. You're looking great and everything like that. And you're going to help in demonstrating this technology.
I sure am.
And Stephen, maybe a little of your own background, please. You're the president of the company. I guess you've done some of the research and so forth. Share a little of your own background, please.
Well, I'm also a New Jerseyite originally, but I have lived here in New York City for the last 20 years. I studied architecture originally, and did actually practice architecture for quite a long time. I worked for Richard Meyer and Partners for a little while, and then for a firm called Stein Partnership in Midtown. And about 10 or 11 years ago, I met a woman named Karen Gorgie, who's a professor at Baruch College, part of the City University system. Who's a
down on 23rd Street.
Right, that's correct. And she runs an outfit called the Computer Center for Visually Impaired People, which is a training center for people with vision loss, and also has a strong interest in the field of tactile graphics.
Tactile graphics, okay.
Yes. Tactile graphics are images of a variety of kinds and subject matter where, rather than a visual picture, an outline in raised image, raised texture and outline is provided in either paper or plastic sheets, and people who are trained to interpret those can draw quite a lot of information about the world, and they can interpret graphs and maps and diagrams of various kinds and some kinds of other kinds of pictures. And this turns out to be very useful for people who are not able to see printed images.
That's really very interesting. That's not just Braille. We've had Braille. That's an alphabetic system, I guess.
Correct.
But this is images.
That's right.
Or
That's right.
graphics. Right?
Yeah, in the world today, we're so focused on images
Yes.
that it really is inadequate to only be able to perceive the world through text. Braille is obviously an incredibly powerful tool
Indeed.
for literacy and for education.
You'll testify to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed, I
good.
will.
Yeah.
Of course, but nowadays, without access to things like maps, can you imagine how difficult it must be to interpret the news when you hear that a military conflict is occurring in between the Kurds in the north of Iraq and the Turks.
Yeah.
So you don't have any idea of what that all looks like in terms of the layout of these countries, the relative sizes, the position of each thing, the adjacencies of various countries. And without that information, it's very, very hard to get your mind around what's happening. I mean, there's a terrible problem in the sighted population in this country with geographical literacy, as you know. But those are. Can you imagine how much more difficult it is if you don't have access to maps?
I wonder if I could ask Ellen a question. That you were sighted until you were 17.
Yes.
So you might have taken a geography course. You would have seen maps. You would have had that as part of your consciousness and so forth.
Right.
And is it different for people that have had that experience, say somebody has gone through that elementary education and all that, in terms of the question of the sighted vis-a-vis the unsighted?
Well, I think it really has to do with the kind of education they receive. Depending on, people have been making tactile maps for a long time, but the unique aspect of this particular system is that not only do we have the map and the layout, but it talks to us. Braille takes up a lot of space. And in order to Braille label maps, it gets very tricky. It's a little bit hard to figure out what the label is actually pointing to and so forth. So this actually enables people who don't read Braille, people who have low vision, to use the maps just like somebody who has no vision. So it really works as an advantage to have the combination of the tactile and the talking.
That's really interesting. I really am fascinated by this, and it would be another alphabet in a sense, or more than an alphabet. The Braille is alphabetic. Yeah.
Yes.
So you've got those letters. You have to string them all out. That'd get very, very difficult.
Not really.
No.
When you train and you learn to do it when you're a young child, obviously,
Yeah.
You're much more fluent. And it really, in a way, is a pity that kids today are not using or learning Braille as much as we did when I was growing up. It is fairly well known that only about 10 to 15% of the population of people who are blind are Braille literate.
Is that right? That's interesting.
And that's really too bad, because of that small group, the majority of people are employed, as opposed to people who are not Braille users, who are about 70% of folks are unemployed.
Unemployed, or does that connote being employed as are they involved with life? You could be very involved with life and not be employed at a paying occupation. You understand it's a state of mind I'm wondering about.
Well, it is a state of mind, but in order to participate fully in society, one has to make that contribution. And if you've decided to be, for example, a stay-at-home mom or dad, that's absolutely fine. But if you need to earn a living, you need to have a way to do that. And many people who are blind don't have that opportunity.
Don't you think we could provide from the common wheel for the people who are blind in a way that wouldn't put them to the test of having to go out and earn their way necessarily?
But I think
what do you
people
think
want
along
to
the,
do that.
You think so? Do you think
Oh,
people want to
absolutely.
do that in order to make money, to pay rent, or do they want to do it so that they can be engaged in a dialogue with other people in the environment?
I think
I'm
probably
not sure
both.
Both.
I mean, I
okay.
think that,
Yeah.
you know, it's really important to lead a full and active life.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that activity is work. Part of it is education. Part of it is community. So, you know, there are many aspects to it. And certainly one can volunteer, but what's going to support you? Your parents? Until what age?
Well, how about this? I would suggest maybe the society could, or it may be coming to where, I just was reading Lord Keynes, an economist. He said we're going to be confronted with massive technologically induced unemployment that's coming to the grandchildren who wrote about 1930. So we're probably going to get over this swoon with the idea and the importance of people to go out and make their way and earn a living. That's another philosophical issue and political economic question
Absolutely.
that is there, and mostly it's accepted. Anyway, I was more thinking about it's really the trouble is we've only got an hour and there's so much we could talk about and so forth. And I wonder we come back to you, Stephen, this idea of the tactile alphabet that you've got. She said it's very cumbersome with the Braille to say try to do a map or something like that, apart from the question of those who were unsighted from birth, like Adeline Keller, I guess, was, and that kind of thing, and people that had had some experience with it and then had the blind, the blindness come. But what is this tactile system? How do they work it out? Is it heuristic? Is some sort of a view, some sort of a logic to the way these tactile images are set up? And maybe you could talk a little bit about them, you know.
Sure, I would love to do.
How many logos or objects or images are there that can be felt by the fingers and identifiable to a map of the outer world?
Well, that's a really, really tricky question, and I'm going to try to summarize it as quickly as possible. You know, as with pictorial or visual images, there's really an endless variety of subjects that can be depicted in tactile form. But contrary to visual images, we have to be a little careful about overloading the viewer. So we try to keep things fairly simple. We don't have, we usually stick to only about 2 or 3 different types of lines. So we can use a solid line, like in a picture like this.
Okay, you can hold it and give the camera a little time to come in.
Sure.
And maybe the camera could could come in and come down a little bit and bring that in. There they go. They got it. You can see it on the screen that they've got it now. So you could talk to it, please.
Yeah, well, so in this picture, which I'm holding up, which is one of our tactile graphic images that we're going to then place onto our computer device to make it talk.
Demonstrate a little bit down the line.
We'll do that a little later. But just to start off and describe this a little bit, this is a plastic sheet which has been embossed and printed with a picture. And this actually shows a diagram called Life Cycle of a Polio Virus, and this is part of a museum exhibit that we developed for the Smithsonian in Washington. And this is part of their exhibit, Whatever Happened to Polio, which is trying to explain to people how polio attacks nerve cells, how the virus gets into a nerve cell and how it then replicates itself and goes on to wreak havoc in the body.
It used to be horrible. Franklin Roosevelt had it, and thank you, Mr. Salk.
That's right.
Yes.
That's correct. So anyway, in this picture, we've taken a very complex subject and we've simplified the image to try to make it comprehensible to someone who is looking at it through their fingertip sensation.
Right. Okay. See, that's really interesting. People to try to imagine that. Okay.
Right.
For the mass majority. Yeah. Right.
So you can see that we have the big white nerve cell here, which is outlined in kind of a dotted line, and that's one kind of a line. But then we also have these very light texture of almost like a corduroy texture.
Could I feel it a second?
Sure.
Just, yeah. Oh, I can feel. Yeah. Sure enough. And there's a line. Right. You could feel it with your finger very easily, and it is corrugated. Yeah.
And that represents the bloodstream that this little virus is floating around inside.
Now, how do they know that?
Well, because when we take it and we place it on our device, they can just touch it and it will say bloodstream, or touch this and it will say nerve cell.
We're going to demonstrate that in a little bit.
We're going to see that in a second.
Okay.
And So then we can also tell them a great deal about this image by what we call layering of information, because you don't want, when something is talking, you need to have a control system so that you can make it shut up, because you don't want it to sort of be just overloading you with information. So the way we do it is we make it so you touch it once, it'll say the nerve cell. You touch it again, it'll give you some more information. You touch it again, it'll continue to elaborate on it. And that's a way of embedding audio content into an image like this, because it's a very simplified image, and yet we want to tell a complicated story. So we use the audio as a way of
adding information.
That's
yeah.
correct.
Yeah. We didn't have the
supplementing.
We didn't have the advantage of that. We have the alphanumeric. We have the phonetic alphabet, or it was a phonetic alphabet that is A, B, C, D, and so forth, and they all string out and they create linear thinking. And the Chinese have like ideograms, and they have an ideogram that gives a whole gestalt of sunrise, and it's not really alphanumeric in that sense. It's different, and we perceive the world differently that way. So you're really talking about interesting things when you do you have a heuristic grid or a grid of logic in terms of the various images or various imaging systems, a dotted line or raised line or something? Is there an organized structure to what something, a circle with radiation coming out being sun or something like that? Or how is that set up, and how many images or groups of images or like dotted line or, you know, how many textures are there that give the vocabulary to this system?
It's a hard question, because there's so many different methods for making it.
Or maybe Ellen can talk, but it's standardized?
No,
it's not.
In a way, it can't be standardized, because if you think about, you know, whether we're using a polio cell, which is very different from a map, for example.
Yes.
You can't really, you know, each item that you're going to produce in a raised graphic format needs to have its own symbols, and that's one of the beauties of this too, because you don't have to use everything exactly the same. You can learn about it when you touch the image on the talking tactile tablet.
Because the talking tactile tablet talks to you. Now, if you think back through history, if you were blind in the 6th century, there was no talking tablet. There was no way you could tap into the...
There wasn't even Braille.
There wasn't even Braille, yeah, but that's another thing. That's a fingertip. But we have the audio track that we can take in terms of having information. You can learn tremendously. And so we haven't had that historically until we had, you know, vacuum tubes and the technology of recording and that. And that's relatively recent, a couple hundred years maybe, that we've had anything like that. But that gives new possibilities. And now we have newer possibilities with all the things that are going on in terms of the technological development. And
no question.
I wonder if I could address that just for a moment. I spoke to you that I have been in touch with Mr. Kurzweil, and I guess he's well known in your circles and so forth. And I can remember way back about 1974 doing a program with him up in 126, Highway 126 or something out of Boston, big technological event. And he had the Kurzweil talking machine.
Right.
And I remember demonstrating with the lady who was blind then, and that was where you could take some script in the English language and you put it on a Xerox thing and it read it, and then it translated, the computer translated the script, the English script, into a voice. And I can remember the voice sounded something like this. It said, 10 years ago, our fathers brought forth, and it was a computer-generated voice from the alphanumeric. And that was he invented the optical character generation that's behind all of that.
That's right.
And that's a great thing where you could take a book and have it become available through the audio track, as it were.
Do you remember how big the machine was back then?
I'm trying to think.
In 1974?
Well, I'm trying to remember. It was so long ago, I have a hard time remembering last week. But I remember that. But it was, they say short-term memory goes first, right after the knees. I'm not sure. But anyway, it seemed to me like it was like, if I remember, it was something like a Xerox machine. You know, it was kind of big.
Yes.
And everything, but it was developed, and then and then he went on to create he would develop the technology and get it up and going and everything, but he was not a marketer. Then he would take that and sell it to a marketer, and it's being brought optical character generation. He's got the patent on and that kind of stuff. He's done really well.
And now it's come down, so it's smaller and smaller.
Oh yeah, everything's getting smaller and better and more accessible
less expensive
and
too.
less
I mean,
expensive.
I remember when it
goodness.
first came out, it was extraordinary. I think it was like $50,000 or something. It was just
not too many people can afford that for the back study.
Exactly.
You know, I just got an email just yesterday that Kurzweil is still in that field, and he's teamed up with the National Federation of the Blind, and they've now come out with a cell phone that you can snap a photograph of a label. Let's say you're in the supermarket, and you have you go up to a can. You take a picture of the label, and it reads the label to you. No, it reads the text.
Oh,
and,
that's
and
great.
even if the can is cylindrical, it can interpret that and sort of, I don't know, resolve it into, adjust it, and decipher the text and read it aloud. So we've gone from this tabletop thing, which costs $50,000, to a little tiny cell phone with the same, even more capability. And that is really an enormous step forward.
Yeah,
so we owe him a lot.
It's amazing the technologies that are coming. It's very, and the technology, all extension of consciousness and all extension of that. But he was very good. And then he teamed up with Stevie Wonder. That is Ray Kurzweil did, because Stevie was not sighted. And so he did that, and then he did other things.
Yeah.
But that was a pioneering thing, and the technology is important. This is part of what you're doing here now is taking advantage of the new technologies that are developing in order to bring new and innovative things that can make the life of the sighted more interesting and so forth, and easier too. I guess that's what it is.
We hope so.
I was trying to get a sense of how this system works, this thing with the tactile image that you can feel and get. You said dotted line. Does that that raised line that you showed me, I could feel it on that. Is that something that has a generic quality to it? It's like it represents water or something represents air?
We have certain standards.
What's the logic behind the image that you put through on a tactile, access through tactile finger touch?
As Ellen mentioned a second ago, it's not so easy to come up with a sort of standard lexicon of symbols that are used consistently, because we are always trying.
It's very interesting to think about it.
It is interesting, and it's very challenging. And there's been a lot of fighting about it over the years. Actually,
oh, I'm shocked to hear that there's been fighting. Yeah.
So, but having said that, it's also true to say that there is a logic to it, and there are some sort of universal design truths that one can pay attention to. For example, when something is more important, we try to make it higher in relief. Because you think about it, this is kind of like a relief map. It's kind of like something where you can have different heights.
Like a contour map.
Like a contour map.
Yeah.
So like for something like this map of Africa,
okay,
which
let's
I'm holding
hold that
up now.
and give them a little time for the camera to come in and so forth. Okay, you can see it over there if you want. You can see, okay, there, they've got it.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, they're able to come in. That's a map of Africa.
That's a map of the continent of Africa, and I don't know how visual it is, but the same exact texture that we used for the bloodstream, we used for the ocean here. So we have a nice corduroy
Could I feel it?
texture.
I'm sorry they can't. Yes, of course. It's the right.
So
right.
this is,
I can. Yeah, right.
That's an ocean, and that's blood. So they're not really the same thing. Because
liquid.
It's liquid. It's
that's
something
a big heuristic category.
This is a big thing floating around in liquid. That's a small thing floating around in liquid.
Right.
So maybe there is some consistency there. But then you look at these outlines. The coastline here is a very high line. It's the highest line. And then the lines that create the individual borders between countries are a little bit lower.
And is that meant to make the continental division?
Right. That's to make a hierarchy, a visual, if you will,
right?
A hierarchy of information.
Exactly.
While that it's not always the same for every image, it is always true that higher things are more important.
Okay.
So that might be
that's a generalized
rule.
principle or way of doing it. I had a friend of mine who wrote a book called The Word Menu. It's really good. It was published by Random House. And instead of having all the words in the English language arranged alphabetical like a dictionary, had them arranged according to subject areas. And it was like a grid on reality he put. So, for instance, if you're interested in, the words were all arranged in a logical way. They set out the logical way in the table of contents. Begin with the universe, then begin with certain biological. They had a logic to it that put a grid on reality, in a sense different than an alphanumeric. And so he had and so he could do that, and you could go like nautical terms were put in one place. So you've got flying jib and gaff and all these terms that are nautical. And if you're writing, and it's a different kind of way of addressing reality other than the alphanumeric thing. I don't know if there's a similarity or not, but you could have a situation like that in terms of these tactile representations of reality.
Absolutely. Very nicely said.
In heuristic terms. I mean, in terms of patterns that could be recognized. And that's what I was trying to get at. So, principle. Higher line means a higher order along a line of hierarchy.
Exactly the same as graphic designers use a heavier line to denote something, a hierarchy.
That's right. We have that even in the sighted world.
Of course,
we have that kind of thing that we take. Red means something. We have colors, and we have all these kind of things. And you're right. That kind of thing, we have that. We just take it in, and it's pattern recognizing. Human mind is very good at pattern recognizing.
That's true.
They can recognize patterns, right? And you could take advantage of those. Who developed this system? Did you develop the hierarchy or the system of, like that dotted line is liquid, that kind of thing? Who developed this in terms of a design? And the design, and the logic of the design, or the way in which it's done? Or was it done by somebody else, or where did it come from? That we've got that corrugated line means something liquid, for instance.
Well, I think we did that in terms of
we being the company,
the
you
company,
people, you
and
people.
also
Okay,
Karen,
you're creating.
Karen Gorgie at the Computer Center for Visually Impaired People worked on these kinds of things, and we discussed it a lot. But also, as we said at the beginning, I'm the testing coordinator for touch graphics.
Right.
And so this is some of the things that we ask people to look at. We recruit folks who are blind or low vision, and we ask them to look at different things and, give us their feedback on, is this clear? Does this make it clearer? Would you like it to see it this way or that way? So that we do a lot of testing, and it's a really important aspect of this work.
And so my question is that you people put this together. I mean, you weren't taking something like we had Roger, or somebody who put together, Webster put the dictionary or something, and you're using a thing that's been developed by somebody else. You're actually doing the creative work of setting up this model of the corrugated means liquid. You did it yourselves at the company and the people that you're in touch with. That's what I'm saying. You created it.
That's true, but I think we have to also make clear that we're not the first people to have done this, and we've built on the work of many others down through the years.
Okay.
Notably, Dr. Gill at the Royal National Institute of the Blind, who actually was the first person to develop a computerized system for generating tactile pictures I believe it was in the late 70s.
Tactile pictures.
Yes.
What is a tactile picture?
Well, that's what this is. That's what we're talking about. These are, tactile means the sense of touch, and picture is, well, a graphic image or...
Can I feel that? I got the advantage of being out. Oh, yeah. See, there's a whole lot can be conveyed, Ellen. If you touch this, you can feel and get things. Even I can do it, and the lines and everything. I can. Sorry, you can't feel it. We don't have field vision.
Right,
yet,
but together, together with that, we have the audio, because you may be able to feel what's there, but it may not give you enough information to be able to interpret it properly without the audio.
Well, then that's the connection thing. And so that will bring us nicely around, it would seem to me, don't you, Stephen, that it brings us around to the talking tactile tablet.
It brings us right to the talking tactile tablet.
That's a TTT. That's got a very nice ring to it, TTT.
That's right.
And the tablet is a term that's associated with a thing crossed between a laptop and a computer, a tablet.
Yep.
And this is a device of your own invention?
That's correct. We have a patent on this.
Okay.
It's owned jointly by Touch Graphics and the City University of New York.
Okay.
And we are marketing these all over the world right now, and it's very successful.
Talking tactile tablet.
That's correct.
Okay, now we can see this, and you can see it on your screen there. And this, you put it flat and so forth. And then these templates are put into that. Is that the idea?
Exactly right.
Okay, and why don't we do, maybe
Should
we
we
do
try
it
it?
with the African thing?
Let's try
So
it.
they would open, let's keep the camera on it, but go ahead, open it and put one of those,
So this has a hinged frame,
Yeah.
which I can open up.
and that's glass there?
This is a glass,
Like
a hardened glass surface. It's
And
not,
and
it's
the
not
glass
fragile.
over there. There's a
No,
lid.
this is, I can put my
That's-
hand
I
right
see,
through.
okay, it's just right through, okay.
Because otherwise you wouldn't be able to feel it.
Oh, absolutely, good
All
thinking,
this-
good thinking, Stephen.
All this it does,
And you
this
put that-
frame just holds the sheet
It just
nicely.
holds it in place. Now you can hold it up and people can see that that's there. And we can see that we've got, and it has this tactile quality to it. And then you've got the various countries and so forth.
Right.
And then what it is, it's attached to a system that gives the audio to a program. And the audio speaker, for those, there's a speaker on the floor there just for purposes of picking it up. There's a speaker connected to a computer.
That's right.
And we're going to be able to hear what it is over that speaker through our microphone.
Exactly right.
So go
Okay.
away, take it away, Professor.
Can I say one thing first before we show
Absolutely.
you?
Sure.
I wanted to point out something important, which is that we have a bunch of symbols and icons over here on the right side
Visually
of the sheet.
available and also tactically
That's correct.
available.
These are little tactile arrows and a plus sign and a circle. And when Ellen is showing you how this works,
Okay.
she's going to be pressing those buttons. And that's the same thing as if you're using Windows or a Macintosh
Right,
computer.
right, or
You've got little
MapQuest,
tools and
yeah.
icons
Yeah.
and things that you press in order to indicate that you want to do something.
That's right, and
So-
this is in keeping with those systems that are part of the sighted world. Yeah,
That's
okay.
right. So this is
Okay.
like a very simplified but quite powerful tactile graphic user interface. That's what we call it,
That's what it-
TGUI. And that's the same thing as a GUI or a graphical user interface, but in tactile form. And this is very important for navigating through menus, making selections,
Right.
indicating to the computer what it is that you want to do.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
And did you develop this?
Yes, this is our invention. and this is-
By our, you mean your company?
that's right.
And you were involved in the design of that, or was there somebody involved in the design?
No, it's my baby.
Well,
And,
congratulations,
thanks very
young
much.
man. That's very good. You've got a thing that's very good, taking advantage of the technologies that's coming along to help people that
Yeah.
can use that, and it helps make a more interesting world for them.
And another thing that's worth mentioning is that, you know, we tried very hard to make this thing simple and cheap, I should
good.
say, because very often things that are specialized tools for very small populations tend to be expensive.
Yeah, they're rare, so
They're
they're
rare and
more
expensive.
cost, yeah.
So what we're trying to do here is to use off-the-shelf technology and components. This is just basically a touch screen
Yeah.
that you see in an ATM or any
Sure,
other kind
sure, sure.
of a thing like that.
Uh-huh.
And instead of having a lot of knobs and buttons and switches on the device itself, we put everything onto this tactile overlay sheet.
And you try to keep it in a standard way so they'll
Absolutely.
always know where to
Exactly
go.
right.
Yep.
Exactly
That's
right.
important, right? Yeah.
Crucial. Crucial.
So those directional things are always in that position on the sheet.
That's right. So every time you start a new application, you know the plus
I don't
sign
see
is
them
here.
on. I don't see them on here. Or I don't
This
see,
one is a special one because it's from a museum, but we have some other ones like this.
Oh,
This is
there
a-
you've got it
A
again.
book about the sun, which we made, a book of solar photographs
Uh-huh.
taken from a space telescope that we did for NASA.
Uh-huh.
And this has the exact same interface. the
Yeah, you've got
circle.
the same little circle
That's right.
and the yeah. That's like yeah. That's right. Like
It's typical for everything we do.
Right.
Here's a game. This is the same. This is like an audio version of concentration. And you can now press these buttons, and they work exactly the same way.
and
So-
they will take you and navigate.
That's exactly right.
Exactly. Well, that's important to have that so you can easily know what you're doing and everything.
Sure.
And then that can be put into the machine, and then it can be. Are we going to let Ellen demonstrate?
Yeah,
that
we're going
then?
to demonstrate. I thought maybe we would look at the map of Africa
Okay,
quickly,
and we got a couple more we can show.
and then we can switch and play a little
so you're
game.
going to pass that over to Ellen now.
I'm just going to put it on the table here, and we'll
Oh.
do it together.
Okay, so she's going to do it together.
Yeah,
Okay.
And so I'm going to push a button on my computer to start it.
Is it better to do it that way? We can't display to the camera. Maybe we can we do it upright, or is that too hard?
I think for Ellen it would be tricky. I can do it upright if you like,
Well,
or we can switch
let's-
off.
Well,
Shall
you
I
go
try?
ahead. You go with it, Ellen. Sure, go ahead. Now, what are you going to do? You got it? You
First,
can
we're going to
have it-
start it up. Let's
Okay.
let it
You're gonna
start.
Start it up. The computer's got to warm up or something,
Yeah, it's got to
right?
get ready.
And remember, the computer's connected to, it's on the floor over there, it's connected to a loudspeaker, which is in front, a microphone in front of it that should pick it up.
Right.
Is it almost ready to rock and roll? Okay.
so.
So what happens now? Now he's pressing, wait a minute, he's pressing it.
If you
There
have
we
used
go.
the TTT
Okay.
before, press anywhere now to go to the expert setup.
Okay, I'm
expert
gonna
mode.
press
Press
anywhere.
the dot in the upper left corner until you hear a chim
It's
sound.
already pressed.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
That's one of
Press
the
dot in the
setup
lower right
dots.
corner
That's the setup dot at the upper left,
Press the
always in the
first
upper
bar
left
Upper
corner.
left
Right.
and lower right.
from left
Okay.
to right or to
Then we
create a
have
new sheet in the
3,
TTT authoring to press
horizontal
the enter key now.
vertical bars.
Yes,
One,
Now press the second bar to the right.
No,
2.
that was
you
the
take the third. Yeah.
Oops.
There you go.
Finally, press the last.
All right.
The
What's that
program for National Geographic Talking Tactile Atlas of the
And that
World
tells
is being
us-
loaded.
Okay, let
Please
the
wait a moment.
wait a moment. Okay.
But that tells us, tells the computer which program we need.
National Geographic Talking Tactile Atlas of the World. If you
Wonderful.
have used this atlas before, press the plus sign to go to the main menu. Otherwise,
Okay. and we're gonna-
Plus is always up the
main
upper right.
menu. Press the up and down arrows to move through the menu choices, and then press the circle button to select one.
Okay, she's
Map list. Distance. To facts. To learn facts about it. Glossary. To learn the definition of a
sensitive.
term used in this atlas, press the circle button. Settings. To change settings.
Okay, we can change
press the
settings. We
circle
can make it
button
louder or
now.
softer.
okay.
Map list. To
All right,
hear a
let's see
listing
what's
of
on the
all
map
maps
list.
in this
All
world
right.
atlas. Press the right and left arrows to move through the map list. Then press the circle button when you reach the map you want to find.
Okay.
World. Solar system. Africa continent.
There we
this
go.
sheet is the sheet number for the Africa continent map is AF1.
And
If
that's
you would
right
like to
down
switch
here
to this map,
in Braille
press
and
the circle
large
button
print.
and
I
listen
see.
to the instructions.
Go to the plus sign, show the
Main,
index.
main menu. Press the up and down arrows to move through the menu choices, and then press the circle button to map list. To hear a listing of all
More.
maps in this world
we
atlas,
don't want
press
the
the
map
circle
list.
button. Index.
Index.
If you want to
Let's
refer to a listing of all places shown in this atlas,
Okay,
press
this
the
is-
circle button now.
Oop.
Distance. To find the distance between any 2 points on this map, press the circle button now.
All right.
To check the distance between any 2 places shown on this map, press the first place now.
So she's
Algeria.
Algeria.
is the
She
starting
pressed
point for the
Algeria.
distance calculation. To
Right.
confirm this, press the circle button, or now press the ending point for the distance
Okay.
calculation. Atlantic Ocean is the ending point for the
That's not so
distance
good.
calculation.
That's okay.
To
Okay.
confirm this, press
Oh, yeah.
the circle button.
Or I can
or
change it.
press
Let's
a
change
different
it.
place. Rabat is the ending point for the
Okay,
distance
so we're back to
calculation.
Saudi Arabia.
To confirm this, press the circle button. The distance between Algeria and Rabat is 782 miles.
That's
to check
very
the
good.
distance
I
between
want
two
one of
places,
these, Ellen.
press the
I
next
want
button
one of these
right
gizmos.
now.
Yes.
Otherwise, press the plus sign.
Why don't we show how to find something
as the
index?
Okay.
Exploring the main menu. Press the up and down arrows to move through the menu choice. Map list. To hear a
that what I
listing of
want?
No,
all
index.
maps in this world atlas,
Index.
press the circle button now. Index.
Okay.
If you want to refer to a listing index, press the up arrow to find a place on this map, or press the down arrow if you want index for this map. Use the left and right arrows to move through the letters of the alphabet to find the first A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K.
Okay.
Now use the up and down arrows to move through a list of place names that begin with the letter K. Then Kenya, Khartoum, Lake Victoria, Lesotho, Liberia, Libya,
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. We're not
Liberia,
K anymore.
Lesotho, Lake Victoria, Khartoum.
Oh, there you
Let's
go.
go to cartoon.
Now
Okay.
press anywhere on this sheet to have your finger guided to go east.
Go east.
Usually on a map, east is to the right. Go north. Go east. Go south. Go north.
She's pressing the map.
You have found Khartoum. You can continue to use the index to search for a different place. or
King
press the
Solomon's
plus sign
mine.
to
Now,
go
one
back
of the
to main
things that's
menu.
interesting here is that
Khartoum.
that tells us that it's a capital city.
What tells you?
Khartoum.
Oh, the sound?
Uh-huh.
The sound is capital city.
Yep.
Okay, that's
Okay.
interesting.
Mhm. And now we can find some information about Khartoum by,
Kenya.
oops,
Ivory Coast. Now press anywhere on this sheet to have your finger guided to Ivory Coast.
now we're going to start.
Don't push too long. Just push it again. Just not for so long.
Main menu. Press the up and down
Okay.
arrows. Map list. Index. Distance. Facts.
Okay.
To learn facts about any country on this map,
So let's
press the
take
circle button
some-
now.
Oh, look at
To
some
hear
of the
facts
facts.
about Sudan, press the circle button.
All right.
Press the right and left arrows to move through the fact categories. Then press the circle button to select one.
Okay, so we're going to have a whole bunch of opportunities to think about what we want to know about Sudan.
Okay.
Surroundings.
Surroundings, that'll give me the countries around it,
Area.
the area, how big it is,
Size.
oop, area and size,
Well,
well, whatever.
Topography.
Topography, mountainous, whatever.
Population.
Population, let's see what the population is.
Population as of 2000, 35,080,000. To hear
30.
another fact about this place, press the right and left arrow. Capital.
Ah, well, we know the capital is Khartoum, but let's see if the computer will tell us.
Capital, Khartoum.
There you
To
go.
hear another fact about other languages.
Mm.
Languages. Arabic, English, tribal dialects. To hear another fact about this language sample.
Ah, see what we got here.
Sorry, there's no fact available in this category.
Okay.
There could be.
Religion.
Yeah.
Religion. Okay, let's see what the religion is.
Religions, primarily Islam, some Christian, and indigenous African beliefs. To hear another fact about this place, press the right and left arrow. Form of government. Head of state. Monetary unit.
Oh, let's see what their money is called.
Monetary unit, Sudanese pound. To hear another fact about this place, press the right per capita income.
Ah, that's
I'm
interesting.
serious, Ellen. I want one of
To
these.
hear another fact about
This
this
is
place,
fantastic,
press the
I'm
right
telling
and
you.
left arrows to move
So-
through the fact categories.
That I
Or you
want
can
one
press
of those.
another
I mean,
Okay,
that's
we can
really
arrange
at
that.
your
Yes,
touch,
we
at
do.
your thing. Because
Now-
this thing could translate into a general market.
Well,
Apart from just
we
that,
don't know. People need a lot of bells and whistles in the mainstream culture. They like a lot of fancy visuals. This is a little slower, a little more deliberate, but you know, the information is all there. But you know,
It's in a database.
And
it's-
actually,
it's
we really should
accessible.
say, too, that this was done with the cooperation of National Geographic.
That's right. So
Gilbert
it's all-
Grosvenor, God bless him. Good guy.
So you know, before we run out of time, can
Yeah,
we show you a couple other
we're
things?
43 out of 58. So
Well,
we
we'd
got
love to show
15
you
minutes.
how much fun this can be because, you know, it sounds a little boring. Monetary unit of
Speak
Sudan.
for yourself, John Alden. I found that exciting. I'm a geographer. I did my doctorate in geography. I'm telling you,
Well-
this is really good to have all that at your fingertip. You could have that so you could get all that kind of data in the database and have it available.
And you could do it while you're
and
driving,
you can
too.
put it in your phone. Yes, exactly. Geopositioning. You could do
Yeah.
it. Anyway, I'm saying that's really good, and I
You're
congratulate
sold,
you.
huh?
I'm congratulate you enormously on
Okay.
it. But let's demonstrate some more.
Well,
if
let's
you
show
can,
some more
Stephen.
stuff. Let's take off the
First, you
map.
have to open the lid and
Right.
take the template out. Right.
Take that one out, and we're going to stick this one on there, and when this one we'll find out what that is.
Uh-huh.
So
Well, this looks
Close
like
that
a checkerboard.
it's a little bit like a
Should
checkerboard.
we show them it quick?
Yeah.
Show them quick.
Let's show
on the
this
thing.
one.
Take
Actually, you
them
know
out.
what? For this one, why don't I hold it up?
Okay, you do it.
And I'll do it
So the
so
camera
that the
can
camera will follow me as I'm going along, okay?
Okay,
So the
so-
first thing I have to do is tell it that I've changed sheets.
Okay.
And the way you do that is just, again, with this, using this special graphical user interface.
Uh-huh.
Press the dot in the upper left corner until you hear a chime
I
sound.
press that plus sign for 3 seconds, and it knows that I have a new sheet on there now.
I see.
So now I'm going to
Okay.
do my first setup dot.
Uh-huh.
Press the dot in the lower right corner until you hear a different chim sound.
And by the way, that guy, that's the new version of the robot voice that you were complaining
Yeah,
about.
the one I heard sounds Swedish.
Well,
It might
this
have
guy
been
is a little.
Swedish.
They've come a long way with these
They've
synthetic
come a long
speeches.
way, robot.
That's
Okay.
right.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay.
Press the first
Now remember,
bar on the ID strip, moving from left to right.
remember
bar.
how
To
Ellen
create a
was,
sheet in the TTT authoring tool, press the Enter
Do
key
you want
now.
me to hold it up and you?
that's all right, I got it. So she was showing how
It's
you
raised,
press these
yeah.
buttons,
Yeah,
these
uh-huh.
bars,
Now
and I'm
press the
sliding
second
my
bar to the
finger.
right.
Second one, what's that doing? Programming?
Well, what this
Finally,
does,
press the
this is
left
really
bar to the
important.
right.
What this does, see, in each sheet, those 3 bars are in a different location. So it's kind of like a barcode.
Oh, they are.
So
They are.
what's
No,
going on
I
is that the
see.
computer is watching very carefully where I press those, and then it compares those positions with a database of every known sheet in the system. There's several thousand sheets.
Several thousand sheets in this system
Yes.
that come with the machine?
Right. So
Several thousand.
several thousand, and that's because, so basically this system is necessary so the computer knows which of all of these different sheets it's on here. And again, that's because we're trying to keep this thing inexpensive.
Yeah.
You could have put a barcode reader or some fancy electronic device inside the unit to actually automatically read this, but we like to make our users work a little bit. So we basically draft them and force them to press the button. So they kind of like it.
What is the logic of that?
Because then we don't have to have a whole nother piece of hardware inside the device to read a barcode or some kind of other device. We can simply just use the touch
Is that a
screen.
cost saving?
It's a cost
Yes.
issue.
The design
Yes.
decision.
It's both. I
You
mean,
said you wanted them to be doing it. Were you making a joke or something?
not really.
We want it to be reasonable in terms of cost, but we
Yes,
want
of
it to
course.
be easy in terms of access.
User friendly.
And we want the user to participate, I guess, also.
Oh,
We want them
okay.
to understand what's going on. We don't want these things magically happening.
Right.
So the process of pressing these things to set up is, in a way to make it a little more tangible for
Okay,
them.
I
But
see.
and obviously we don't come packaged with all the pictures and the TTT, so it's incumbent upon the user to learn how to make it work.
All right, and there's thousands of those.
Right.
Now, how do you keep track of them?
Well,
all
the
labeled.
computer keeps track of them for us. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press the last bar. I've already pressed 2 of them.
Okay, if I may suggest, just thinking ahead or
Okay.
thinking, couldn't it be just all programmed into a card that would go in and you wouldn't have to have all these separate things? There's some way to get this down in, you can't.
You mean
Yeah,
one
there's no way
without
could
all
you-
these sheets? Something.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question, Harold, and what you've really raised is the question that people have been wondering about for a long time, which is it possible to make what they call a full-page refreshable tactile display? And that means basically tactile pictures that appear automatically in any shape or any form. And people have been thinking about this for a long time. The closest people have got to that is like, those funny toys that they have where you can press, it's like a pin cushion, and you press it against your face and you make like a little impression of your face. There are things
They
like
do
that.
Xerox machines that people stick their face.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's
this
not
is something
tactile.
that you can feel. That's something that like, so little pins that move up and down that can create a picture. So if someone has made that, the Japanese made one, it costs $30,000 and it's really crude. So we decided, let's let everybody else, fuss around with trying to develop that technology. We know how to make these very good sheets that are very inexpensive and
Right.
clear, and we'll just, have them placed on the machine and then switched whenever they're needed.
Okay, but if thousands, I can't keep track of.
Well, not
3 by
everyone.
5 cards.
It
very
depends.
Not everyone has every.
Right, it's like a
picture.
library. In a library, there's millions of books. You don't have to know all of them. You just
Right.
need the one. You just get the ones you want.
Right. Okay.
But let's show.
Yeah, let's do this.
let's
We
go
only
ahead.
got 10 minutes
So
left.
we're going to have a
let's get
rousing
this-
game of TTT match game. Ellen and
Okay.
I are fierce competitors, and we're going to see who wins. So what I'm going to do now is press the 3rd bar.
The program for TTT match game is being loaded. Please wait a moment.
Okay. Now, we get a little music. We put our machine down on the table, and we're going to play some match game.
Welcome to the match game. If you already know how to play, press the circle button now.
I'll do that.
Otherwise, wait expert mode. Press 1 if you are playing alone, or 2 if you are playing with a friend.
So Ellen, you want to press the 2 on the keypad?
Sure. Oh,
2 players.
okay.
Select a difficulty level. Press 1 for easy.
I think we
2
want
for
easy.
medium,
Easy, yeah.
And 3 for difficult.
Definitely easy.
Yeah, this is a tough game. So let's press the 1.
Let's make it
Ellen, you wanna
easier
press the
than
1?
easy.
Well, there's no easier
No
than easy.
easier than easy?
No.
Okay. Well,
You have picked a low difficulty game.
Thank you.
Now choose a theme. Press 1 for animals, 2 for musical instruments, or 3 for mystery sounds.
Harold, how about you choose?
Animals.
Animals, okay.
Animals. Good choice.
Oh, see?
Player 1, pick your first square.
Okay.
Remember, if you press a square for just a moment, you will hear its address. But if you press and hold it a bit longer, you will hear the hidden sound. You can press as many squares as you like to hear their addresses, but you can only reveal the hidden sounds of 2 of the squares per turn.
Okay. I'm going to go first.
The plot thickens.
So now we have this grid, and we're only playing in this upper corner because this is the easy game. But the squares are all labeled.
A1, B1,
So I'm just touching squares
C1,
to hear their addresses.
D1.
But if I press it and hold it a little longer, I'm going to uncover a secret
A1.
sound. Now that's familiar.
Rooster.
Now pick
Okay.
your second
Now I'm going to
square.
pick another square.
B1.
What
No
in the
match.
world is that?
We don't know yet.
A
Pick your
lion?
first square.
Tiger?
So now it's your turn,
Now it's
Ellen.
my turn. All right.
So
Whoops. Where are we?
You're getting there.
A2. A2.
That's not, you got to come here, honey.
no, she's
You
got
just
it.
picked that. You just picked that square.
Yeah,
Pick a different
See,
one.
Harold's
B2.
interfering with the game.
B2.
Ooh. So, okay, my turn.
Yep.
A3.
Ooh, what's
Locust.
I think that's locust.
I don't
The
know.
rattlesnake?
B3.
Well,
No match.
that's a
Player
lamb.
2. Pick your first square.
Now you got to really pay attention with this game. This is not easy because you got to remember where all those sounds are.
Out of bounds.
Oops. And that's what happens when you're not in the appropriate square. So,
Row 3.
row 3?
A3. A3. A4. You just picked that square. Pick a different one.
I did.
C3. C3.
Uh-oh.
That's a rooster.
Oh,
That's a
now I have
rooster.
to
No
remember.
match.
Now that's
Player
that's-
1.
Now it's my
pick
turn.
your first
You-
square.
okay. So now I remember where that first one was. So I'm going to go ahead and press that.
A1.
Oh,
Rooster.
yep.
Now pick your second square.
Let's see if it's a
C3.
rooster.
That's a
It is.
rooster. So you made a
Rooster.
connection then.
Match.
She told me it was a
The
rooster.
score is now 1.
she said it was a
2,
Oh, you got a score.
0.
of
I got
for that
one.
because
Take
you
Now
another
I get to
turn.
go
Pick your
again.
first square.
So,
A4.
ooh, I know that one.
What the hell is that? I don't know.
B1.
You got that?
Let's find out what it is.
Alligator.
That's an
That's an
alligator?
alligator.
I didn't know
The
that was
score
an
is now
alligator.
2, 2, 0.
0.
You may take another C1.
You're whipping me.
No, this game can turn around quick.
Now D1.
Ooh, do you remember that?
No match.
Your
Player
turn.
2. Pick your first
yeah.
square.
Oh, I see.
D1.
I thought we heard that.
Where is...
Taken.
Why am I not getting an address?
Out of bounds. Out of bounds. Out of bounds.
Steve?
A2. B3. B3. Now pick
That's
your
a
second
lamb.
square.
We definitely heard that one.
What?
I think we've heard that
We
one.
have.
But I'll be damned if I know where.
Yeah.
D4.
Oh!
That's rattlesnake, I think, or it's locust.
A2.
Oh no!
That's a horse.
Oh,
No
that's
match.
that cow.
Player 2. Pick your first square.
Wasn't it D1? No.
I don't remember.
Taken. Taken. C1. C1.
Oh my
Now pick
goodness.
your second square.
Who knows?
B3. B4. B4.
Oh, I know it.
Ah.
Can't believe we're late.
A2.
Well, we're almost done with this.
Yeah.
B4.
So I think they get the idea now, and you know, there's plenty of other things. Another thing, by the way, before we finish, I want to tell you that we're very interested in
Horse
museums, and
Match.
the
The
tactile
score is
talking
now
tactile
3,
tablet
2,
is
0.
is just
You may
one
take
of the
another
things
turn.
that we
Pick your first
do.
square.
And some of the ideas that are embodied in this invention and this product are now being used in museums. So, for example, I mentioned this thing we're doing at the Smithsonian, which is a thing about the polio virus. We're also working at the Lower East Side Tenement Museum, and we've created a floor plan and an elevation for them. But I don't think that's too easy
And
to
you
see.
have a thing for public spaces like Times Square, no, like a railroad station,
Right,
or something.
right,
Where they can know
right,
where the
right.
washroom is or something. And
Right.
that.
So
Yeah.
we're working on things like train stations. There's something now at the Staten Island Ferry
Okay.
Terminal in St.
Good.
George on Staten Island. We're doing one now in Penn Station. But also we're interested in three-dimensional talking sculptures.
Right.
So we have something at the New York Hall of Science. It's called the New York Hall of Science Talking a touch model of the rocket park. And so if anyone's ever driven out to LaGuardia or been out to the museum, you've seen these two giant rocket ships that are standing outside. They're actually artifacts from the space program. And we're trying to make those a little more accessible for those visitors who can't view those things because they're just too big.
Well, imagine if you're walking into a place and you want to know where the restroom is and you're in a location, you could have a thing that'll give you a sense of where you are in the layout of the
Absolutely.
place. And that works for you, Ellen, right?
Definitely.
So that would be a great thing because you
but
don't
this is
know.
I mean, that's what we're doing
Yeah.
in the Long Island Railroad and other places. But what Steve's talking about now is the whole idea of having an exhibit that is universally designed, which means that it is accessible to all people.
Right. And it's not, it's not
really?
something which
Yeah,
is
that
just
could be
for
used. Yeah, right. I understand. Yeah, this could be
But it's-
fertilizing other
Right.
areas.
It's
Yeah.
located inside the building, so in the winter it's also a good thing when it's too cold to go out and look at the rockets from
Yeah.
outside. You can look right out the window and make comparisons.
And
Also, when
kids
we
really love touching things and making things
Kids, yeah,
happen.
yeah.
So this really, there's something very,
Tactile.
it's very tactile. It's very visceral, maybe. And I think that there's something about the whole computer interface with a mouse, where you have to navigate an object on a horizontal surface, which is then moving a little pointer on a vertical surface, and then clicking a button. And it's very removed.
Yeah.
It's a very high cognitive load activity. You have to learn a lot of things to use
Well,
that.
we're all going to learn from this, and it's a really interesting thing, and it's going to serve you real well, Ellen, and your colleagues and so on, and it's going to serve us, and it's your pleasure to have the perception. Sorry, we're running out of time. On my immediate left, Ellen Rubin, who's the demonstrator of this, and on the far left, Stephen Landau, who's the president of Touch Graphics. You're here in Midtown Manhattan.
Correct.
Thanks a lot for coming. Ellen, it's so good to see you again. Shake my hand. Stick your hand out. So good
Good to see you.
to see you. Kiss your hand, my dear.
Thank you.
And Stephen, thanks for coming.
Very
Great
gallant.
pleasure. Thank you for bluing. We'll be coming back again tomorrow. That's it for now. Running out of time. Thanks again, and all the best with this, because I can see all kinds of implications. I think I would like one of those geographic things, Ellen, really very much. I could use it. I think there's the things that are going to have general application, including these public spaces. I congratulate very much on all the work.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for viewing. Coming back again tomorrow. We're running short on time, so thank you. Okay.
So that